Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us in Cleveland. Yeah, get Chomps up here. We love our buddy Chomps. Huge welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for making the trip out to Cleveland. So excited to have you guys here. For those of you that don't know, we are the home of the Cleveland Browns. History, so much history with the team. We are home to names like Jim Brown, Lou the Toe Groza, and one of our favorites, Joe Thomas, who was just recognized along with Philip to play 60 last year for the NFL consecutive snap streak of 10,363. We're so proud to recognize him for that. And while we love our alumni, we could not be more ecstatic about the team we have going into this season. You excited, Chelsea? We're excited. Someone back there is really excited. We've done quite a bit of work on the football side over the last year and change, adding names like Baker Mayfield right here, Jarvis Landry, and most recently Odell Beckham Jr. We cannot wait to get camp underway next week. Daryl and I were actually just talking about it off stage. We're just so excited for football to start again. And we will actually get the chance to host you guys in our home on Thursday, where the Cleveland Browns play at First Energy Stadium. So excited to have everyone come out for that. Now, before we make it to the stadium on Thursday, we're going to ask all of you to help us with one of the things we love to do the most at the Browns, and that is work in our community. We love doing it. We actually have all of our staff commit at least 10 volunteer hours every year. And I'm going to pass it over to Daryl to talk a little more about that program.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck with your lesson. How you doing again? My name is Daryl Taylor. I'm the youth football manager for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm here to talk to you about our Browns Give Back mission, which is our community relations mission. And our three things that we focus on is education, youth football, and First and 10. And as Vanessa said, we have each one of our staff members, players, as well as our community members in Northeast Ohio pledge to give 10 hours to improve the livelihoods of those who are around us. So I'm going to turn it over to a video, and we're going to show you how the Cleveland Browns give 10.
When organizations like the Browns, good people like the Haslams reach out and do little things for these kids, it changes the outlook.
All the funders in Northeast Ohio care deeply about how we can make the community better. But the Cleveland Browns Foundation has been among the most active that we have seen in the 50 years we've been in business. The Browns have chosen a very specific goal for the foundation: get kids to school and stay in school. So our mission is to do everything we can to help Cleveland school kids stay under 10 days of absence every year. By doing that, they've got a better chance to succeed.
George Daniels Field is an old public works project from the Depression era. It's a beautiful old cement stadium, but it's run down. And so the new turf field has created a situation where it's in use all the time now. We have graduation out there, we got girls softball out there, we've got football obviously out there, and it just has become kind of a centerpiece for our community.
Truthfully, it's an honor to be here and stand before you guys, ladies as well. I can tell you what the game has done for my life, what sports has done for my life. It's taken me to places that I couldn't even imagine, and I've been able to see a lot of things that I couldn't imagine as well. But also, in doing that, I had to become a better student.
Hey Dogtown, what are you doing to help the community? Make a difference, but make the First and 10 pledge first. Visit clevelandbrowns.com, give 10 hours, help your community, and share your story using hashtag Give10 on social media. I think it's important to get out in the community and give back because I've been blessed to be in the position I am right now, and it's just important to give back to those that are not as fortunate or those that are younger. I just remember when I was little looking up to athletes and quarterbacks and looking up to them in every way, not just what they do on the field, but who they are as people. So being able to give back in such a way, hosting my own camp and youth camps are just very important. Getting around those kids, making sure that, they're getting a little bit better, but more importantly, having fun.
So next, we are going to challenge each of you to give 10 hours as well. So we have wristbands for everyone in attendance. They say give 10, hashtag give 10. So if you do anything on social media and you're volunteering, you can do hashtag give 10. As well as this is the NFL's 100th year. So with the 100th year, the NFL is challenging you to do 100 minutes of volunteering. So with hashtag give 10 or hashtag Browns or your particular team, whether it's Falcons, Dolphins, so on and so forth, Huddle for 100, you can have the opportunity to volunteer 100 minutes. So with that being said, on Thursday, we're gonna have a banner at the stadium that each one of you can sign. And so that's how we do it as Cleveland Browns, from all of our youth participants from K through 12. And if you want to pledge to give 10 hours, you can sign the banner. So we'll have permanent markers and things of that sort that you can sign a banner and pledge to give 10. And Vanessa has some exciting news as well.
So before we get to the announcement, youth council leads and PA team leads, if you guys haven't already done so, go ahead and take your bag of bracelets and hand that out to your team if you wouldn't mind. If you guys are short or have a few extras, just let us know so we can make sure everybody in attendance gets a bracelet. And with that said, to incentivize this commitment of committing to 10 hours, if you do so by the end of October, you will be eligible to win a trip back to Cleveland for a Browns home game later this season. So we want everybody to get out there, do your community service hours, and hopefully come back and see a game with us. Before we leave, just thank you guys so much for taking time out of your summer to come to the summit, making the trip to Cleveland, and just thank you for being such fantastic student ambassadors and taking all of this information that you're learning here back to your schools.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for our friends from ADA Mid-East. Department of Agriculture for the State of Ohio, the Cleveland Browns. I'll ask you guys to step off the stage. And now we're going to move on to the next segment of our summit opening with a really awesome video so you can meet another dairy farmer.
Mi amor de las vacas y las granjas lecheras viene de mi familia. Mi abuelo era un gerente en un banco en La Ceiba, Honduras. Le gustaban las vacas simplemente porque les tenía cariño. Si no fuera por el amor que teníamos nosotros por estas vacas, no estuviéramos en este negocio. Es un esfuerzo de estar juntos, los latinos que trabajan aquí en las ganaderías, que son gente real, familias que quieren las vacas como nosotros queremos las vacas. Y sin ellos, esta ganadería no existiría.
Es lo que en realidad nos saca a uno adelante. Llegar a su familia, llegar a su casa, tener paz, tener entendimiento.
Las noches ese es el tiempo que puedo tener mis cenas con mis niños, ayudarles con la tarea. Y si tengo que irme después cuando van a dormir al trabajo de regreso, pues lo hago. Yo le digo que esas vacas son mis amigas, me cuidan a mi familia, me dan de comer, le dan de comer a ustedes. Y no quieren mucho, pero solo que las amen, las cuiden. Y yo con gusto les doy todo el verdadero amor y cuidado que le puedo dar. Estar aquí con mis vaquitas es mi amor por lo verdadero.
And please welcome to the stage our Youth Council leader, Ziri Palamares from Arizona, to introduce our next speaker.
So hello everyone, today I'm introducing Rosemarie Zimbelman. She's a wife and mother from Phoenix, Arizona, who has been a part of the Arizona agriculture for over 30 years with her family business. She received her bachelor's in animal science from Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California, then pursued her studies at the University of Arizona, for the Tucson fans, where she received her master's and PhD. During her time there, she then furthered her career in real estate and achieved her realtor broker license in 2006 and 2009. So since we are doing the Field to Play 60 in Español, we're going to introduce her in Español as well. So, hola, bienvenidos. Ella es Rosemarie Zimbelman, es esposa y madre en Phoenix, Arizona, que ha sido parte de la agricultura por más de 30 años. Ella recibió su licenciatura en Ciencias Animales en Cal Poly en San Luis Obispo, California. Luego continuó sus estudios en la Universidad de Arizona, donde recibió su maestría y doctorado. Durante su tiempo, ella continuó su carrera en bienes raíces y logró su licencia de agente inmobiliario y corredora en 2006 y 2009. So thank you, and let's welcome Rosemary Zimmelman on stage.
Thank you so much for that introduction. As you can see from the video, I have deep, deep roots in agriculture, all the way stemming back from La Ceiba, Honduras, and actually both sides of my family, on both my mom and my dad's side, both milked cows in Honduras. My dad's family, my dad had 6 brothers and sisters. My mom had 13 brothers and sisters. They both grew up relatively not in good situations as far as economic status, and they needed cows to help feed the family, especially those types of sizes of family. My dad's dad couldn't continue dairying because of health reasons, and my mom's dad continued dairying as a hobby. He was a bank manager, as you heard in the video, and continued growing his herd to about 100 cows right outside of La Ceiba, Honduras. My dad was studying, in order to continue education in Honduras, at some point you've got to get scholarships. Private education or any type of education, at some point you have to get some type of private scholarship to continue going at the time when he was growing up there. So he found his way to apply and get scholarships to be able to go, a lot like you guys coming here and being able to apply and earn your way to get here, right? So he did that to come to university in the United States. And he came to Purdue and studied for his master's degree for dairy science and animal nutrition, and eventually went back to Honduras as part of his application process, or his master's degree agreement, and taught at a university there for two more years. He came back to the United States and he started doing lab work for a large company, and then had an opportunity to start doing nutrition work for dairy nutrition. Worked his way up to the director of nutrition for that company, managing a large team of dairy nutritionists here in the Midwest, and then eventually ended up leaving to pursue managing a dairy farm. He went to Indiana, managed a dairy farm there, and had one day where all the milkers did not show up for any evening shift, which, as my friend Earl kind of said, it's kind of something that can happen and something you do all the time on the dairy. People don't show up, you gotta do it yourself, or you do it yourself a lot of the time. So he did, and it was a cold winter night, and he woke up he walked out the next morning as the sun rose, and he had he wiped his face, and his mustache was in his hand from how cold it was, and he said, "I'm getting out of here, it's too cold." And being from Honduras, Central America, we're just not used to those cold climates, right? We're tropical people, and we like our sun, and we like our warm weather, and we're used to a little bit more humidity. So he moved to Arizona, where he heard a lot of large dairies were growing and going to be moving, and that's where he started his own nutrition business back in 1977. Eventually, while he was there, he got a sponsor him, I believe that was under the Reagan administration, and he became a U.S. citizen in the next coming years. He brought over my mom and my siblings that were mostly born in Honduras at the time, and I was the first one born in the United States in Arizona. So I am a first-born generation American, and my parents are, both here, and they're both Americans as well now, and we have been living in Arizona ever since. Since 1977, we have established, we're on our 8th business. I work with my dad every single day. I am the youngest of 5 siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and my closest sibling is 7 years apart from me. We milk 2,000 Jersey cows in Arizona. I think there's a lot to say about being a child. Sometimes we don't get along with our parents. How many of us don't get along with our parents? I still don't sometimes, right? I mean, I'm 36, I've got 5 kids, and I still argue with my parents. So I think that's something to be said, right? And we don't always understand our parents. We don't understand where they're coming from. My kids don't understand where I'm coming from. So I think realizing and talking to your parents about how they were raised and how you're living today will help you understand a lot of why they make the decisions they make with you. And it certainly has helped me understand why my parents make the decisions they made with me growing up. So my dad worked a ton when we were all growing up, and he wasn't home a lot. And he was traveling a lot, visiting a lot of dairies, always trying to get more work, help dairy farmers across the nation, across the globe. So he didn't make a lot of softball games for me or a lot of dance recitals. He didn't make a lot of football games for my brothers. You know, that means a lot to a kid sometimes. But he always provided for us. He always had food on the table. My mom was always able to take us to all these things. We always had our classes paid for. We always had everything we needed. Our basics were met. He didn't grow up that way. He grew up in Honduras. He didn't always have food. He always, you know, he needed a shelter. He needed a roof over his head. Honduras wasn't always the safest sometimes. Education was a privilege. You had to have a scholarship. So knowing that about my dad, I knew that that was his priority for us, was to provide. It wasn't to always be at those games. So I want to bring that home to you guys, because I think that's a lot of why sometimes we misunderstand our parents and where they come from. And so learning how they were raised will help us understand them a little bit better, and why they tell us yes, no, or why they focus on some things. And I think that's really important. And I want you guys to know one thing. You can't live life with people telling you can't do something. I mean, for someone to grow up with so many no's already, so many excuses to not be able to succeed in a different country and to come over, and for me to be so close to that, I mean, I was just born from him, right? First generation American. And then to be able in the last 36 years of my life to be able to grow these businesses with him and be able to work side by side with him. I'm the youngest of 5, so there were 4 other siblings that could have done it too. I have every excuse to not succeed. But you guys don't. You have every excuse to succeed. And you're here, you're 246 students out of how many in the United States that are already pushing yourselves and taking leadership skills to the next level. And I mean, I just met Anthony Munoz and his foundation and what you're gonna get out of that. Holy moly, to be able to have that opportunity. So if I have a little bit of piece of advice for you today, it's be a little selfish. We expect you guys to be. You're young, right? So do it. Be selfish. Absorb yourselves in yourself. Lead yourselves. Develop yourselves. Take everything Anthony's foundation has to give, fuel up to 60 has to give, earn all those points, earn all those trips, and keep going. And man, you know, we're all here to share a common message, which is nutrition and exercise. And as far as being a dairy nutritionist, I do the same thing you're doing. You're sharing nutrition and exercise with your friends every day. I'm doing that with the cows. I'm making diets with the cows. I'm making sure that they're fed right, that their fibers being met, their proteins being met, their minerals and vitamins are being met, that they're not having any problems when they have their babies. And that video says it all. They're my girlfriends. I like them better than a lot of my girlfriends, actually. I get in the pen with them, and they cuddle with me, and they come lick on me, and I love them. And you can see that. I don't know how many of you are on social media. Any of you? Too young? Not a lot? Well, if you are, Dr. RBZ. Those are my initials, Rosemary Burgos Simbelman. I post a lot of videos about my farm, and I post a lot of other friends of mine that are on farms that share their stories. Come follow me. You'll see my jerseys. Anybody know the difference between a Holstein and a Jersey cow? Not a lot of you. Holsteins are black and white, right? The one cow that everybody knows. Jerseys are short and brown. I relate a lot to the jerseys. They're short, brown, sassy, long eyelashes, kind of cute. So they're my favorite, and they're really easy for me to handle. So I really like them a lot. But so they're absolutely a doll to watch. I'd love for you guys to see it. How many of you have been on a dairy farm? Oh, love it. If you haven't yet, talk to your program advisors. They'll get in touch with someone who can put you on a dairy farm. If not, talk to me or Arlene. Arlene's here. I see her. Arlene's going to get you on a dairy farm, or I will. Because the two of us are diehards about getting people on dairy farms. So make sure you talk to one of us today, and feel free to come up and ask us anything you want to know about dairy farms. But what you're doing at your schools is what we do for dairy cows. And any questions you have, we're here to answer. And thank you so much for being leaders in your community. And I'm telling you, you guys are all-stars. Keep rocking it. You have the world ahead of you, and you can do anything you want to do, and you are so ahead of the curve. So don't let anyone stop you. Thank you.
Each kid is capable of influencing this world in some way. I grew up in Southern California, facing a life full of challenges and uncertainties, and so did my mother. She coached me on the importance of